Okay, Mawashi or roundhouse kick or turning kick. Today's video we're going to talk about a few points in the Mawashi that a lot of students tend to find have trouble with. We're going to have a few exercises to improve these aspects, and hopefully there's something you find that will benefit you. So the first, or the most important in my opinion, issue to sort out with most people's kicks is the supporting foot rotating. Not only does it allow for more power, but it also protects the knee joint, probably most importantly. So what I mean by this is that this foot, the supporting foot, needs to make a rotation all the way to the back as we're rotating through the kick. I don't want to leave my foot there, or leave this knee pointing this way and this ankle pointing this way and try and kick around it, because the knee's going to twist and the foot's going to stay still, and it's going to obviously cause problems. So I want to make sure that this foot is completely rotated as I'm making that kick. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to give a couple of exercises that I like to use to try and improve that for you. So the first step or the first exercise for this will be to take something to balance on. So I've got a chair here, we can use the bar on the wall or anything else. I want to just take one knee up in front and just get the supporting foot, turn into the back and rotate and back. What this does, as I turn this hip, it sets my pelvis up more horizontal for that kick. I'll come back again. So we could do sets of 10 or so, just rotating here. What I can do to assist this is use the other arm to counterbalance. 1, 2, 1, 2. What we can do from there is then continue through the kick. So we can lift the knee up into a chamber position, turn the supporting foot, and then come around into the Mawashi and back. Turn the supporting foot, Mawashi and back. Supporting foot, Mawashi and back. From there, we then have a progression from the exercise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a target, a pad. I'm going to start with my foot already chambered now. Okay, so knees up in a position ready to kick. What I've got to do now is rotate this foot and make my kick from there. So I'll rotate the foot and make my kick this way. The next issue is not generating enough power in the kick. And one of the most common things that I see when I'm teaching is that people are kicking too shallow on the pad. So what they're doing is they're kicking when their knee is in line with the pad here. So it gives a nice snap, snapping kind of sound, but it's too shallow. What I want to think about is cutting through the pad. So in order to do that, I must take my knee across the target and then my hip through as well. Okay, so that combined with the previous idea about rotating the supporting foot, we then have this kind of action where the knee goes way beyond. I'm going into the target this way. Okay, so I'm going to take my hip all the way over here and my knee past the target, and then let the hip come with it afterwards. So from here, supporting foot, hip, knee, round into the target this way. Okay, so again the difference is this. If I let my kick go here, I'm just making a snap into the target here. I want to cut it, slice it in half. That's my goal with the kick. In addition to that, another thing to think about is our line in relation to the pad, where we're standing in relation to the target. If I'm too wide this way, I've got to go even further to create that power and get my hip through the target. So what I want to do is I can either from this position I can adjust by taking my front foot across, which could be disguised with something else. I can throw some hands first, I can cut across and send the kick, or I can throw it from that line in the first place. Okay, so I can be more back here and I can throw the kick from here, this way. But I don't want to be throwing it from outside here. This is lacking the ability to get my hip into the target this way. The exception to this, however, is if I was going to use the ball of the foot. So if I'm going to use the ball of the foot, I will take myself outside a little further. I will chamber nice and wide and come around this way. Okay, so in that case, I want to kind of almost leave my hip behind the target and connect with the ball of the foot this way into the target. Okay, round here, ball of the foot, shin or instep, this side. in order to get the kick faster, what I want to try and do is create a more direct kick as well. So I don't want to chamber too wide around here. I make that kick like this, as is quite often traditionally taught. I want to bring my knee up here in the centre, and then make my hip rotation and the rotation on the floor to make that impact later. Or sorry, sooner. I want to come up, rotate, back, this way. So it's more direct, which means I could then instead throw a migrate or something else. So I'll come up through the centre line, up, and change the position of the kick from there at that point. So the difference is the sort of more classical, traditional way would be to really chamber out wide and come around. What I like to do is to bring the knee through the centre and rotate as we get there. Okay, so if you found that of benefit, please don't forget to like, share it with your friends, and let me know in the comments what else you'd like to see next time.